Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into a topic that's reshaping the world of finance,
Yeah,
blockchain,
yeah.
and its impact on something super important, financial inclusion.
Really important.
Yeah, you might be surprised to learn how this tech, often linked with crypto,
Right.
could actually be a game changer for millions around the world,
Yeah.
especially those who don't have access to traditional banking.
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it. Like, we're talking about a potential revolution in how people
Yeah.
access and manage their money.
Absolutely. And the crazy thing is, the potential is huge.
It is.
So our guide for this deep dive is this fascinating article from Blockchain Magazine.
Okay.
It came out on October 29th, 2024,
Uh-huh.
and it's titled Financial Inclusion on the Blockchain: Amazing Ways Decentralized Ledgers Are Bankrolling the Unbanked in 2024.
Catchy title.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it really dives deep into how blockchain is creating these new paths
Yeah.
for those 1.7 billion people globally who are unbanked.
It's amazing how a technology known for crypto can also be a force for social good
It is.
and economic empowerment.
I know, it's like a whole different side of blockchain that people don't often think about.
Absolutely.
So to get started, let's do a super quick recap of the basics.
Okay, sounds good.
So picture blockchain as this digital ledger that's spread across a whole network of computers.
Mm-hmm.
And every single transaction that happens gets recorded
Yeah.
and verified by multiple computers, which makes it incredibly secure
Right.
and transparent.
It's like having a public record of every transaction.
Exactly.
But instead of being kept in one place, it's like distributed
Yeah.
across tons of computers. So
Yeah.
it's super hard to tamper with.
Exactly. It's like this ultimate system of checks and balances.
Yeah.
So now let's connect this back to financial inclusion. Like, imagine you're living in a remote village,
Okay.
no bank, for miles,
Right.
but you have internet access with blockchain. That's all you need
Exactly.
to tap into all sorts of financial services.
And it's not just about access either. Think about those fees. You know, the ones you pay for international transfers, they can be crazy.
Oh, tell me about it.
Blockchain can cut those down big time. Imagine sending money to family overseas and saving like 80% compared to what you'd normally pay. That's the kind of impact we're talking about.
That's insane. Like, that could be life-changing for so many people.
It really could.
Okay, so speaking of changing the game, the article dives into this whole concept of decentralized finance, or DeFi.
Ah, DeFi. Yeah, it's a fascinating area because it lets people access financial services without needing a traditional bank.
So it's like banking, but without the banks.
Exactly. It's like this financial system built on this global network of computers where you're in control.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a world where you don't need a bank to get a loan,
Wow.
or to save your money, or even to trade currencies.
Wow.
That's the potential of DeFi.
That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It kind of is. It's like this futuristic vision of finance, and the potential benefits for financial inclusion are huge.
Huge.
Lower costs, faster transactions,
Yes.
greater accessibility. You're just like scratching the surface here.
So like someone in a rural village could get a microloan to start a business just through their phone.
Exactly. That's the kind of impact we're talking about.
That's incredible.
It is pretty amazing.
But of course, the article doesn't just paint a rosy picture. It talks about the challenges too, right?
Right. It would be irresponsible not to.
Exactly.
So things like security risks, like, smart contract hacks. And then there's regulatory uncertainty, which is a big one as governments are still trying to figure out how to deal with this whole new landscape.
I mean, it's such a new technology. It makes sense that there's still a lot of unknowns.
Absolutely. And then we can't forget the complexity factor.
Yeah.
DeFi platforms can be kind of confusing for people who are new to blockchain.
Definitely.
There's a real need for education and user-friendly interfaces so everyone can understand and use it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So we've got this super exciting potential, but also some hurdles to overcome.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so building on this idea of decentralized finance, let's focus on one development that's causing a stir: central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs.
CBDCs, yeah. It's basically like if your country's currency went digital, you could pay for stuff with an app, receive government benefits instantly, and even use it offline.
Interesting.
That's the whole idea behind CBDCs.
So how are they different from cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin?
Good question. So Bitcoin and other cryptos operate independently of any government or financial institution.
Right.
CBDCs, on the other hand, are issued and backed by your country's central bank.
Okay, so they're like the digital version of the cash in my wallet.
That's a great way to put it.
Got it. And the article points out some pretty big benefits for financial inclusion, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like making it easier for governments to distribute aid directly to people in need.
Think about the possibilities for disaster relief social welfare programs,
Right.
even direct cash transfers during economic crises. CBDCs could make those processes much smoother and fairer.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like cutting out all the middlemen.
Exactly.
But like with any new tech, there's always another side to consider.
Always.
What are some of the risks associated with CBDCs?
Well, a big concern is government overreach and privacy. If a central bank controls the digital currency, they could potentially track every transaction, which raises questions about individual freedom and data protection.
Right, like how much control is too much control?
That's the debate, isn't it?
It is, and it's one that we need to keep having as these technologies evolve.
Absolutely. We need to find that balance between innovation and security.
Right, because we want to benefit from the good stuff
Yeah.
without compromising individual rights.
Exactly.
So lots to think about there.
There is. So let's look at some real-world stuff. How is blockchain actually making a difference in emerging markets?
Yeah, for sure, because it's one thing to talk about the potential, but seeing it in action is a whole other level.
Exactly. And the article has some really cool case studies.
Yeah, the one that really caught my eye was using blockchain for land registration.
Oh, yeah.
Like they mentioned, Georgia and Sweden are doing it.
Yeah.
To create these super secure records of land ownership.
Right, because that can be a huge problem in some parts of the world where land rights are unclear.
Exactly. Like it can cause so many disputes.
And it's hard to prove who owns what.
But with blockchain, it's like this ultimate proof.
Yeah, it's like having a digital fingerprint for every piece of land.
And that fingerprint can't be faked or changed.
Exactly. It brings so much trust and transparency to the system.
I mean, think about the people who finally have proof that they own their land.
Right, it's empowering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The article also mentioned supply chain management in Kenya.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example.
Like using blockchain to track agricultural products from the farm all the way to the market.
It's amazing what you can do with that kind of tracking.
Right, like you can make sure farmers are getting paid fairly.
Exactly, and it reduces waste.
And makes the whole system more transparent for everyone.
Consumers know where their food is coming from.
And farmers have more control over their products.
It's a win-win.
For sure. And then there's the impact on remittance services.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
The article talked about how blockchain platforms are making cross-border payments cheaper and faster.
Way cheaper.
Which is incredible for families in developing nations.
It's life-changing.
Like, think about the money they save on fees.
That money can go to their families, their kids' education, even starting a business.
It's really mind-blowing.
It is.
Like, we're talking about real, tangible impacts on people's lives.
Exactly.
So what else can blockchain do you know looking ahead?
Well, the article mentions decentralized identity solutions.
Okay.
Which is pretty wild. Like, imagine a world where everyone has a secure digital ID that they control.
Even if they don't have traditional documents.
Exactly. Like no birth certificate, no passport, no problem.
That would be huge for people who are shut out of the system just because they lack ID.
Totally. It's like giving them a voice, giving them a presence.
And not just in finance. Think about healthcare, education, voting.
Right. It opens up so many possibilities.
So blockchain isn't just about money. It's about access.
It is.
To opportunity.
Opportunity for everyone.
That's powerful.
It is. And then there's smart contracts.
What are those?
Basically, they're like digital agreements that automatically execute when certain conditions are met.
So like a digital lawyer.
Kind of. It's all automated and transparent.
That's super cool. And it can help reduce corruption too, right?
Absolutely, because everything's out in the open.
So more efficiency and more accountability.
That's the idea.
It's amazing how all these pieces fit together. Like, it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the values behind it.
Exactly. And the article makes a good point about how blockchain can foster trust and accountability.
Which are essential for a fair society.
For any society, really.
Right, and it all comes back to that core idea of decentralization and transparency.
Yeah, because when you have those things, you reduce fraud.
You give people more control over their own data.
You empower communities.
It's like blockchain is giving us the tools to build a better system.
A more equitable system.
For everyone.
That's the hope.
It's exciting to think about, but obviously there's still a lot of challenges.
Of course, there always are with new tech.
Like the article talked about the need for specific innovations.
Yeah, to really make this vision a reality.
Like digital identity verification, Using biometrics.
That's a big one. Imagine being able to prove your identity with your fingerprint or a facial scan.
No more physical IDs.
Exactly. It could open up access for so many people.
But it has to be done carefully.
Definitely privacy and security are paramount.
Absolutely. And they also talked about mobile banking solutions,
which are key in many parts of the world.
Where mobile phones are more common than bank accounts.
Exactly. So you bring the financial services to the people.
But it has to be easy to use.
Absolutely. User-friendly interfaces are essential.
And secure.
Of course, we can't forget about security.
So it's like this whole ecosystem of innovation that's coming together.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see.
To address these really complex issues.
It is.
But as we've seen throughout this deep dive, it's not just about tech, it's about responsibility.
Right, we have to use this power wisely.
Which brings us to this really crucial question. Regulatory and ethical considerations.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
It's kind of a Wild West out there, right?
Yeah, it really is. Like, the article points out that blockchain is evolving so fast that regulations are struggling to keep up.
It's like a cat and mouse game almost.
Yeah, exactly. Like, governments are trying to figure out the rules.
Right.
But the tech is always a step ahead.
Which I guess is a good thing in some ways, right?
It's good for innovation, but it also creates challenges.
Like what kind of challenges?
Well, for one, it creates uncertainty for businesses.
Yeah.
Like, especially those dealing with crypto.
Makes sense.
If you don't know what the rules are, it's hard to operate.
Absolutely.
And then there's the issue of compliance.
Trying to navigate all these different regulations can be a nightmare.
It's like a global patchwork quilt of laws.
Yeah, exactly. What's allowed in one country might be banned in another.
Talk about a headache.
Yeah, it makes it really tough for blockchain companies to go global.
So we need more international cooperation.
I think that's a big part of the solution.
Okay, so we've got the regulatory challenges.
Right.
But there's also the ethical side of things, right?
Oh, definitely. We can't forget about that.
What are some of the ethical considerations that the article highlights?
Well, privacy is a big one. You know, people talk about blockchain transactions being anonymous.
Right.
But it's not that simple.
So it's not truly anonymous.
Not really. The data associated with those transactions can be traced back.
That's a little unsettling.
It is, and it raises questions about who has access to that data.
Yeah.
How are they using it?
And are they protecting our privacy?
Exactly. Those are all important questions.
Yeah, and it's not just privacy, right?
No, there's also the issue of access inequality.
So even though blockchain has the potential to empower people, it could actually make things worse if not everyone has access to the tech.
Exactly. What about people who don't have internet access?
Right, or who aren't tech savvy.
You could get left behind.
So it's like this double-edged sword.
Yeah. It has the power to do good, but it also has the potential to exacerbate existing inequalities.
Which means we have to be really thoughtful about how we develop and implement this technology.
Absolutely. We need to make sure everyone benefits.
Okay, so there are definitely some challenges ahead.
There are.
But at the end of the day, the article seems pretty optimistic about blockchain's future.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's not all doom and gloom.
What's the main takeaway, then?
Well, it's about finding the right balance between innovation and responsibility.
I like that.
We need clear regulations that support growth, but also protect people.
Right.
And we need to educate users so they can make informed decisions.
Empowerment through knowledge.
Exactly. And most importantly, we need collaboration.
Between who?
Between regulators, tech companies, and individuals.
So it's a team effort.
It has to be, if we want to get this right.
Well said. So what does all this mean for our listeners?
I think it's a call to action.
Okay, I like that.
Like, we've talked about the incredible potential of blockchain to transform finance, to empower people.
To create a more inclusive world.
Exactly, but realizing that potential requires us to be aware of the challenges and to engage in these conversations.
To ask tough questions.
And to work together to find solutions.
Because this technology isn't going away.
No, it's here to stay.
So we better figure out how to use it wisely.
Absolutely.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive.
Alrighty.
I know it flew by.
It did.
But we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
And hopefully our listeners are feeling inspired to learn more about blockchain.
I hope so.
And its potential to change the world.
For the better.
Exactly. Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking questions.